Last time on Thanks for Cooking.
I'm here to file for full physical and legal custody of Jason, and here are my reasons. And his lawyer basically put her hand out and said, I'm going to stop you right now.
And now the exciting conclusion.
Because my client has already talked to me, and basically expressed that he would be willing to sign over custody of Jason. And
jaw floor.
I literally, she was like, so are we, the lady that was running, it's not a judge, it's
like
a mediator.
Yeah.
She looked at me and she said, is that what we're doing? And I just went, yeah, I guess that's what we're doing. I was like, okay. And they were like, okay, well, there's nothing to do here today then. So this is dismissed for today.
Yeah.
And I just walked out of there.
Because they were like, there's no point in doing this if that's the next step.
The next step. I remember walking out of there and I called you and I called my dad and I called my mom. I called everybody. And I just I was laughing, also dumbfounded. It felt like a movie. I was like, that did not just happen. There's no way he just said that in a court situation.
Yeah.
That he was going to do that. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I don't remember the timeline of how soon after.
It was like a month or two. It took a little bit of time, but it also happened pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Because the next series of events, I remember I was looking up lawyers. Remember?
And he was like, oh.
Wait, no. We can't, hold on. We got to pause on that. So you called me, you were like, this is what's going to happen. I immediately got on the phone and started looking up lawyers in the area. I had adoption lawyers and whoever handles this kind of stuff. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, Jesus Christ, high price tags left and right. And I was like, this is going to take some time. So the next conversation that we had, I said, listen, I said, Shahid, listen, I found a lawyer. It's going to cost, and it was going to cost $3,500, $4,000, something like that, some crazy amount. I said, I don't have that money right now. I said, you need to give me 6 months. We're going to figure this out. And I said, in that time, it was Jason's going to stay with us. Because we'd all agreed on that. We said, you know what?
Yeah.
Jason's with us now. And until we figure this out, you are not going to see him. And that's when he came back. And I remember you had called me to tell me about this. Now, again, this guy who fought tooth and nail about
saving
money and only viewed Jason as a paycheck, called Lauren and said, I found a lawyer. I'm going to pay for everything.
Wait, no. The lawyer that was there, the woman that was there the day of.
He said, I found a lawyer.
She's going to represent us both.
She's going to represent us both. It's $4,000.
Yep.
And to quote him, I'm going to sweeten the deal.
Stop, I forgot he said that.
I will never forget that.
I forgot he said that.
Jason was a fucking used car.
I'm going to sweeten the
deal. I'm going to sweeten the deal.
I'm going to throw up.
I'm going to pay for everything.
I'm going to throw up.
And
Stop,
I was
now you're going to make me sad.
Oh.
Why would he say that? I remember he said that. Why would you do that?
So he said, I'm going to sweeten the deal and I'm going to pay for everything. And I'm like, he's not a fucking used car. He's a person.
It's so sad.
And it was very apparent in that moment that I was like, this is a guy who wasn't ready to have a child. And he was getting that sort of get out of jail free card. And he took it. And you know what? Obviously, thank God, right? Jason has the life that he has now because of that. So the next part, I remember the lawyer kind of went back and forth. We had some phone calls. We filled out the paperwork.
It was so weird because I talked to the lawyer and I was adamantly talking to her going, she very much was what was it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, she was very much she wasn't representing either. She was representing both of us, but very
she was
impartial.
Just handling the situation. Yeah. As a lawyer, she just handled the situation.
Handled the paperwork or whatever.
She wasn't, because you're not really representing one side or the other. You're just
there was no argument.
Yeah, you're just legally handling the situation. So they were doing that.
Yeah. I was sitting in the car in the parking lot and I called her and she was like, let me just go over everything with you. What, he's willing to sign. And I just kept asking her, I must have asked her 10 times, are you sure he understands what he's doing? Because I was like, there's no way. There is no fucking way. And I remember he had to get 2 family members to co-sign on the paper.
Yeah. So if you're listening and you've never had to experience this, be thankful. But when you sign your rights away as a parent, the form that you have to fill out, not only do you sign and acknowledge, but you need 2 close family members or representatives
to basically say you're able-minded that you signed that.
Right. So you need people that are going to go, yeah, you're making the right decision. Now remember, he has a full family. He was a good person.
He had grandparents.
There was
an aunt, everything.
This whole situation, Jason was the first grandchild in that family. And he had to get 2 signatures, and it was his cousin.
No, his mom and his uncle.
It was uncle and his mother.
Which was the 2 closest people to Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you're like, okay, so now at least 3 people in this situation
are going, this is a great idea.
Are yeah.
And I literally just I kept asking the lawyer all the questions. I was like, so Jason's going to get a new last name? Yeah, he'll drop the name. He'll get a whole new birth certificate. I'm like, did you explain this to his dad? Isn't it sad?
It is.
It's really sad. I'm like, did you explain it to him? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, wow. wow, like he really like he okay.
Yeah, he made that decision.
Like I wasn't gonna try to convince him otherwise, but I'm like, why is no one stopping him? And again, it's like I knew it was gonna be for the better, but like you don't want that. Like I
Yeah.
never wanted that to be what it was gonna be.
I remember going to the law office because it's like right at the edge of Doylestown there, and I dropped off like the last of the paperwork.
What was the guy's name? There was the guy. I'm trying like he had a weird name. That's why I'm like remembering it.
I
The
don't-
guy that was there the day of.
the lawyer that was there the day of?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
I don't either.
I don't. That day was like a bit of a blur.
Yeah,
So I dropped off the last of the paper, and then it happened really quickly.
Yeah.
It was like a week later. They're like, "Hey, we got a court date for you. It's like 2 weeks from now."
it was so weird because they were like, we need his birth certificate. Like basically they get rid of it.
Yeah. So we submitted everything, and then they're like, "Cool, here's your court date," and it was the beginning of December.
Yep.
And
We made my mom come with us because I thought Jason had to be there, which I was like hoping he didn't have to come. I mean, I understand why he had to be there,
right.
but I was like,
We
I
didn't
don't.
know what was going to happen. Like they weren't really clear. I mean, we didn't ask the questions, right? We were just concerned about getting this done.
Well, let's see, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. He hadn't seen his dad in 7 months because May was his birthday, and that's the last day he saw him on his 5th birthday.
That's right.
But there was also COVID. Like there was like a series of events of like why he hadn't seen him,
That's right.
and then it was December.
Honestly, like COVID did help in this scenario because
did.
we were like, he's not leaving this house.
Yeah. There was like a whole.
Yeah, we're like we're just gonna keep him here.
Yeah.
And it kind of helped in the whole situation. So we went to court.
We were paranoid that Jason was going to see anyone in his family or him.
Yeah, we didn't know what was gonna happen. So like we get there and they were basically like, all right, we're gonna put you guys in a room. So it's you, me, your mom, and Jason.
Yep.
All in a room. We're like, you guys are gonna stay here and you guys are gonna be completely secluded. We felt a lot better about that. So essentially what happens is he was there with his mom, because I think you said you saw them.
But only she went. Only she went in front of the judge. Yeah. I don't
Were you
even
in
think
the
he had-
room when that happened?
No.
So we were in the side room. They took him and his mom in.
I didn't even think he had to be there. He was there in the parking lot. I don't think he went in. I don't think he had to show face that day.
Yeah, we really don't know
We
what
don't know.
actually happened.
No.
But the two of them were there.
We saw them in the parking lot on the walk back, but I
Right.
just like kept back.
So
because I
whatever
was like,
happened on their end, and I guess it was like, hey, do you acknowledge that this is going to happen? Blah 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 blah. Like you agreed to all of this.
Yeah.
So
So then we went in and I like was about to black out.
Oh my god.
I was about to literally black out.
So I think they only asked you a couple questions. They were like,
Yeah.
you're the mother, blah blah blah. Yes, you're okay with all this. Yes.
Yep.
Are you okay with me being the father? Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And they asked me all the questions like,
They said, "Why do you want to adopt him?" And you said, "Because he's my son." I will never
Yes.
forget that you said that. That was so nice.
man. Yeah, it was a tough one to get through. It was just
That's crazy.
to be asked those questions in that situation.
Well, what's
And,
funny is
like,
the
right
night-
then and there, they were like, boom, gavel bang, cool, it's done.
Well, I remember they called the night before and asked the questions because they wanted to prep us for what it was
Oh,
going to
yeah.
be. And you couldn't even talk. And I was like, "Oh God!" Like there was like dead silence because the guy asked the same questions to kind of prep him. He's like, "Oh, the judge will probably ask this and this and this."
I'm obviously I'm a notorious crier, so
Rough all around.
and
Yeah.
he never contacted after that.
I mean, I blocked everyone's number. I mean, everyone was deleted on social media.
There was I think I remember the one night where he I'm gonna assume he butt dialed me or something. I don't know what it was. We were sitting at the dinner table.
Over my
And
first bread bowl,
Oh yeah.
and my heart left my body. Like
Yeah.
I was, yeah.
He called. I didn't answer it, but I saw his name, and I think I immediately blocked him right after that because I guess I realized I didn't block because he never called me.
No,
Um,
it was weird. I didn't know if I should block him because I was like, but I was very much like, okay, we're done here. Like I'm moving forward. I didn't want him to be like, I don't know, because I just kept thinking in my head, I don't think he understands.
yeah, and it was weird because I mean, even Jason, a lot of people have asked me when I tell this story, they're how did Jason kind of react to everything? And I think the series of events worked in our favor where he had slowed down seeing his dad, and then it was like I said, COVID happened and all this stuff, and then he just stopped coming around. And I don't even know when he started calling me dad. 'Cause when I was first around, I was Nick.
Yeah.
I was just Nick for the longest time. And then
It's so,
I
yeah.
don't even think it wasn't until after the wedding even. It
No.
was because I never wanted to be called. Not that I didn't want to be called dad, but I
Yeah.
didn't want to be called dad.
Over
As long as
him,
his
yeah.
dad was in the picture, his dad is dad. I'm stepdad. I'm
Yep.
Nick. It doesn't. It's just a name. It didn't affect me. Um,
He called you Nicholas.
he did. He called me Nicholas,
So cute.
and it was after the wedding he started, when his dad slowed down out of the picture. He started calling. I don't even remember the transition of how it happened
I don't either.
because it just kind of
It was just,
sort of,
regular.
he just started saying it one day,
And it was just that.
and we kind of noticed, but we didn't say anything because we didn't want to make a big deal about
No,
it.
because it was just,
And we're let's see how this plays out.
Yeah.
And then it was just I had just been dad. ever
people always
since.
ask me, I mean, he knew him for 5 years, and people are always like, does he ask about him? Does he wonder about him? And the answer is no. It's weird because like
And it's tough, like he was 5 when it happened. So, if you're ever familiar with a 5-year-old, like his grasp on those big thought concepts, like it's just not quite there. Like he knew that he wasn't going to see his dad anymore. He knew that he wasn't going to see that family anymore.
there is only one time, and I don't even know if I told you, one time, this was like, I mean, literally forever ago. We were in Walmart and he said this was when we decided when we were going towards the adoption.
Mhm.
And he was like, I want to see daddy or something. And I had to explain to him that he wasn't going to see him again. And we sat on his bed after going to Walmart and he was like really mad at me. But he was little. I mean, he's little. He's like little mad, like stomping off, like mad.
Yeah.
But he was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, you're not going to see him anymore. I didn't even know what to say. Like, what do you even say?
And it's not, and I know like we have a lot of like the paperwork that shows like all the court information and stuff like that. And like, we've told the story so many times that, when he's ready to kind of like sit down and hear the story, we'll be more than happy to tell him what happened. It was just, at the time it was just that you're not going to see daddy anymore. That's what it boiled down to. And he, he grasped it. Like he never really showed too much emotion about it because
No.
again, it just happened in the series of events that had happened, which worked in our favor. Obviously, 5-year-old's not going to grasp the concept of personal safety and things like that. I mean, he understood. I think we told him that we were like, Pop did something bad.
Yep.
Because that was the initial like.
He knew about that. Like he remembers that.
And yeah, I mean, if he, we agree, like if he ever wants to reach out to his biological father and ask him questions, like I'm not going to stop him. I'll help him find him. I
always think it's crazy that he has never reached out. Like, I mean, I understand that he signed away his rights.
But like, he knows where we live.
That's what
like,
that's what's weird is like he has the ability to.
Yeah, he has the ability to if he wanted to, and I think that that's kind of the bigger picture is when people leave your life, as we've experienced several times over the last few years, is if they really want to see you, if they really want to make it work, they're going to make it work no matter what, and they're going to keep fighting. And like I said, I
think that's why this emotion comes up around holidays for me, because I'm like, oh, another Christmas that he doesn't have. I mean, his son, like you raised him, like you're just like living Christmas without him. It was his birthday. You just didn't. And it's just weird. It's weird to be on this side.
Someday Jason might ask that question. He might go, why were you okay doing that? And I do remember like he had said to us, like Shafid had said to us that Jason deserves to be in like a stable household.
He did say that.
And I think that it was weird because that was like the first coherent thought I'd ever hear come out of his mouth.
Yeah.
But he was right, and I think that may have like, obviously he had these conversations with his girlfriend and his mom and his uncle and his family, and they were like, yeah, you know what, that makes sense. Like he's going to be in a stable home and it's going to be better for him, whatever that situation is. But you can't help but wonder. It's like, what does happen when there's family gatherings? Like, do people ask about him? Do people wonder how Jason is doing?
I mean, the only person I had in contact with for a short amount of time was his cousin's wife.
Right.
Because they were all, I mean, that whole side of the family was appalled at the entire situation. And she very much wanted Jason to have a relationship with his second cousins.
Right.
And I basically closed the door because it was too soon. Like, if they met now and Jason's like, oh, this is just my friend, like, that's different.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess it still would have been the same then. I'm the one who's viewing it a certain way.
But I think it was also tough because they were still close to the family, right? And at that time, we were dealing with a lot of other trust issues with people.
Yeah.
And we were like, no, we don't want him.
I don't want pictures of him anywhere. Yeah. I don't want anyone knowing about him. Like, it was just
we didn't want any of that. And it's, I mean, listen, we all do internet stalking here and there. Don't lie if you don't. Like, everybody does it. And we know that in the last year or so, Shafid's sister has had a child. And there were like the comments.
Oh, you look great as a grandma.
Yeah, so on his mother's
grandson. Yep. I'm like,
They were like, oh, your first grandson, blah 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 blah, all this kind of stuff. And I then wonder, like, as a human being,
how do you live with yourself?
How do you live with yourself doing that? Like, regardless of if you think you made the decision for the better of Jason or not. Like, how do you do that? We often, we'll kind of spiral and have those conversations
all the time. How? Why?
Like, we were so open throughout the entire thing. Like, we wanted Shafid to be in his life.
Yep.
And like I fought for that so much, and I wanted him.
I feel like we wanted it more than he wanted it. It makes no sense.
And it really was. And there was like so much of that. Like, even in the beginning when there was like, I just always remember there were like days where he's like, well, you can have him. Like,
yeah.
It was just like so nonchalant about his attitude towards being a father. And I still think it's like, how, even if it was like random meetups, if it wasn't on a consistent schedule, like, how could you do that? I look at my daughter and I like,
Could never.
I could never do
Could
that.
never.
I can't wrap my head around that. So I mean, ever since then, it's just life has been life, and
Yeah.
this is what it is. And obviously, like, Addie came along, and we said recently, we're like,
What if he wasn't here on the weekends?
what if he wasn't here? Like, they love and hate each other, but
She would be devastated.
she would. I mean, she gets sad when he goes to school in the morning. She gets sad when I go to work. Like,
Yeah, it would just been so weird.
it would have been a real adjustment. And obviously, like,
She would have been born into it, so it would have been regular, I
into it,
guess.
so I think it would have been more regular for her. But I do think there would have been a point where she's like, why is he not here on the weekends? And what is that all about? That would have just been a whole different situation. But it is.
Well, didn't we have a conversation, like, we were talking about, maybe this was before, maybe this was a long time ago. We were talking about how would they be considered like half siblings?
Yeah.
This was like a long time ago.
Right?
Yeah, half, not step siblings.
Half.
I never know which one's which.
Step siblings would be if Addie was mine from a different relationship and Jason was yours from a different relationship, and then you and I got together.
So they're step?
They're step siblings.
Oh, but they're half siblings.
They're half
there's
siblings.
half DNA in both of them, right?
Because
My
same
DNA is in both
mother,
of them. Okay, that makes sense.
I think. Right? Somebody correct us if we're wrong on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because it really doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
But because we've talked about that too, right? Where there's like,
would Addie ever hear this story?
would Addie ever hear this story? Like,
But why would she?
if you've seen pictures, right? Because the four of you that are listening, you know that my daughter is my identical twin. Like, there are pictures of me at her age and her at this age, and they can be lined up exactly. She is absolutely my twin. So, like, obviously, like, she's going to grow up kind of like looking like me.
But I don't think it's weird because Jason looks like me.
I think a little bit. He looks like your mom. He's got a lot of your mom's
sure.
features. Especially now. When he was younger, he didn't. He just had that fucking acorn head. He was just a head with feet for the longest time. But yeah, we're like, we're going to be like looking back at pictures.
We got these pictures because you were adopting him. Did you know that? Can you see them in the video?
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah. It was his 5th birthday, but those were like adoption type pictures.
We were like, we need some good, like, actual, like family photos. They really were like our first, like, family photos.
Look how dingy, like, he was so cute.
He was tiny.
He was.
But it's definitely interesting. We've had this conversation before about, like, I mean, listen, it's not even like the boy versus girl situation as a parent, but, I definitely treat Jason differently than I treat Addie, and that's, Addie has, was my baby. Like, she is my baby.
Yeah.
And, Jason, I'm obviously, like, I am his parent, but, like, I do have that sort of, like, obligation as the person to step in and take that role. Like, I feel like I have an extended obligation to make sure that, like, he grows up properly.
You put pressure on yourself to parent Jason.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is interesting.
It is. So that's that story. We can talk about all the other people that have left our lives over the last few years another time, because that's a lot of stuff. I don't know if I can actually tell that story on here. I'll get in trouble somehow I'll get in trouble for that.
Why?
Somehow I'll get in trouble for that.
That's probably, yeah, I wonder about that.
Because as far as we know, nobody actually, like, legally knows that information. If you want to know, shoot me a message.
Subscribe to our channel.
Subscribe to our channel. Maybe we can do, like, a super secret paid something. This episode brought to you by that Diet Coke that Lauren just opened up.
I can't believe you adopted Jason. Do you ever think that's so crazy?
It is, but it's also like having that thought is less and less.
No, it's just yeah.
Because, like, sometimes, like, I have to, like, remember, like, when I tell the story, like, there are often times where
you're like, oh, this is the story.
I have to tell a story, but then I can't even think of a context right now, but I know, like, there's stories like I tell at work where I'm like, before I tell this story, you need to know that Jason is not biologically my son.
Yeah.
For the context of this story, because it's like, again, my daughter looks exactly like me, and my son is not biologically my son.
We always love when people say he does look like you, which he doesn't. But it's just like, oh, he looks just like his dad.
Even when it first came around, like, when it was like you'd be off at work and I would, like, take him for whatever, and he's like 3.5, and, like, take him to the store. People are like, oh my gosh, like, he looks just like you, Daddy.
Like, why do people do that? Like,
like,
you're lying.
You're lying, first of all, because, again, if you see pictures of Jason and you see me, clearly we're not biologically related. Like, there's no way whatsoever.
I do think the one thing that's funny, I mean, it's both funny and sad, but me and Jason have this, like, sarcastic banter relationship, is all him and I talk about when it revolves, is that he knows I don't like him. Yeah. He always says that. It's like, and you didn't like that guy, right? And I'm like, I don't even know what to say. I don't know why he got that impression. I never bitched about him in front of him. But he's always, I mean, I'm sure kids hear shit. Like you and I used to talk about it or whatever, but it's
Well,
always like,
And
and I know you don't like
But
him,
he got the name Shathid because we weren't using his real name around Jason,
so that we could talk shit.
so that we could talk shit about him. And I do think, you know, Jason eventually picked up that Shathid means this guy.
Yeah, maybe.
Um,
But you know, he has his Christmas book.
oh my God, that book. I
So
wish we
there's
could
a
get rid of
Christmas book of Jason's first Christmas, and it's the three of us in this book.
that. It's a head in a red vest. It's
It is. He's so
adorable.
cute. But it's in Jason's room, and every once in a while it'll be walked out into the living room, and it'll just like exist here.
Yeah, because like Addie started pulling it out.
She did it. She'd be like, "Who's this?"
She's
And I'm
like,
like,
oh, she's like, this is Jason. That's mommy. And then she's like, but who's this guy?
so then we say his name. Like I'll say that's this person. I'll say the name, and then she's like, "Oh, well, I mean, like that means nothing to her, but." I don't know if Jason looks at it and goes, "This."
Because like that's the kind of thing where like Addie will get to a point where she might look at that and go,
No, but like, who is that?
but who is that and why is it not Daddy? I don't understand. Because other than that one particular context, because we don't have any other photos of him around.
That's what I'm saying. Like, she would never know something like that.
There's no photos of him anywhere around here except for that book.
Yeah.
But eventually she's going to be like, hey, wait, why am I a foot taller than Jason?
We should interview Jason. We should ask him about the book. We should be like, "Who is this person on the book?"
That
would
be
just
an
be
interesting
interesting.
conversation to have, yeah.
It would be interesting. I'd be curious to hear his.
Be like, what, you know, ask him, what do you think happened? What do you
Yeah, like,
think?
what is your-
what's your take on this?
Yeah, we're always. That's one thing about us is we'll just tell him. We'll always be honest. Like,
Absolutely. We said from day one when everything happened that if he ever asked about it, that we would be completely
you're gonna get the
honest.
real answer.
And you know, like I said earlier, it's like if he wants to find him and ask him those questions himself.
Do you ever worry that not our reality, because it is reality, what actually happened? It seems so fucking weird that he won't believe us. Because I feel like
Jason
people
believes just about anything.
I know,
so-
but you know when you tell the story to people and they're like, "No way," and they like, you know, you always like, there's always two sides to a story, and I'm like, I mean, we said we don't even hate him.
Right.
We're being fully like transparent about the story, but it still doesn't seem real. There's no way that happened like that. There had to have been something else, but there wasn't. I just picture Jason one day being like, "There's no way."
It's weird because, you know, a lot of times when you hear those stories about adoption and, you know, parents signing over their rights, they're usually like a deadbeat, they're a druggie, they're whatever, and they're like, all right, well, I need to make this decision for the betterment of my child.
But that's not the story.
And it's not the whole story, but, you know, I always go back to that one time that he said that.
Yeah.
And I think, speak of the devil, you've been asleep for like
2 hours.
it's been a while. Has this barely been an hour?
How's it?
Wow, it's gonna be a long one to edit.
Good night, Jason.
Are we keeping you up?
Yeah, I want the whole conversation.
Okay.
And I'm going to throw it in that book.
You don't have to throw away that book.
You never threw it away.
No, you
That's
don't.
not
have to
what I
throw it away.
said.
Yeah, we didn't say that.
That's not what I said.
And I said this was not a picture of me.
Is that why you like the book? Because you like the way you look in the book?
No, I just like looking at my baby picture.
If there's one thing about our kids,
They love themselves.
to look at themselves. They always want to see pictures of themselves.
Well, I guess on that note, thanks for cooking.
Thanks for cooking. Oof.
Jason, you're funny.